So one of the many things that came out of Comic-Con was the issue of Doctor Who and role models for boys. As we all know, Peter Davison dared to bring this up last year and was raked over the coals. Even discussing this is sacrilege, well, unless it's part of the BBC SJW feminist line. As Parker Malloy from Upworthy.com reminds us, up until now, the titular character has been portrayed by multiple actors, all of whom were men. Oh, that's terrible. I guess that had nothing to do with the fact that the character was male, until Stephen Moffat decided to retcon this small fact. The controversial decision was met with a mixed reaction among fans. You think? Which prompted the BBC to go on record with its official ruling. Quote, "The Doctor is an alien from planet Gallifrey, and yes, can switch gender. Pretty silly, isn't it?" Why yes, Parker. Changing the gender of a long-running character for political aims is pretty silly, isn't it? She continues, now of course, there's no shortage of male role models for little boys to look up to. That aside, who's to say that boys can't find inspiration in a female doctor? Well, I would argue that there is a distinct lack of role models for boys in modern society. How many boys in the Western world are raised by single mothers and taught by female teachers? I'm not arguing that there's anything wrong with female role models, of course, but this does contradict your argument. Also, let's look at science fiction for a minute. While yes, there are many girls and women that are hardcore science fiction fans, and I'm glad they exist, it isn't much of a stretch to argue that the predominant fans of science fiction are males. And yes, the big three, Star Trek, Star Wars, and Doctor Who, are now all female-led. But it's not just the fact that they are female-led, it's the intrusion of ideological BS. I mean, how well did this work out for Ghostbusters? Parker continues, girls are expected to draw their inspiration from male characters without a problem. TV shows, movies, and video games have had a history of centering on male protagonists. Parker, you mean media that is largely aimed at males because they are the primary consumers? Then she claims that this is still the case even today. Really, Parker? So there are no female characters in science fiction that girls can look up to. Really? Moreover, where is your evidence that the overarching societal viewpoint is that, quote, girls are expected to draw their inspiration from male characters? She continues, of course, there's a need to be able to see yourself in the entertainment you consume. But boys aren't going to be finding themselves without heroes who look like them anytime soon. Do you have any idea how the entertainment industry works, Parker? You have what's called a target audience. Men and women in general, not as an absolute rule, but in general typically don't find the same things to be of interest. How about we make Barbie a bearded man? Or make men the central focus of romantic comedies? How well do you think this would go over? Not very good, Parker. Now would it? Chris Chibnall demonstrated a distinct lack of awareness of the ramifications of changing the Doctor's gender. Apparently he was, quote, surprised at some of the debate that happened around the decision to make Doctor Who female. Really, Chibnall? You didn't think that this decision would cause at least some concern amongst the Doctor Who fan community, particularly after the third wave feminist SJW nightmare that was the previous two series of the show, two series that saw the ratings tank. He states, quote, this idea that boys can't have female role models is really troubling to me. You idiot! If there was a contingent that is saying that boys can't have women as role models, then this is very small. The argument that people like myself and Peter Davison are making is that it is important for males to have male role models, but we're not arguing that they have to be male exclusively. But when you replace a male role model with a female role model from franchises that are majority followed by males, then yes, there is a problem here. In New Who, the companion has typically been regarded as being just as important as the Doctor. Did these characters simply not exist in your universe? What about companions from the original series? This is not about role models, and you know it. It's about demonstrating your superiority through blind virtue signaling, and you know it. Jodie Whittaker also made her thoughts known on this. She hopes that her role will inspire young girls. Again, let me repeat. While female Doctor Who fans are important, and I would never want to diminish their importance, they are not the show's primary audience. She says now it isn't just attainable for half the population. The other half could be the Doctor as well. Girls will no longer just think, oh, I can just be the companion. Yes, because a woman would never dress up as the Doctor. No, that would never happen. Ever. Being the first female Doctor and showing children that their heroes in shows don't always look the same is a huge honor for me. Nope, no ideology here at all. She continues, in a way, there is liberation. Interesting that you chose that word, in that new direction. The pressure is less for me because I can only do this my way. I would think there would be a lot of pressure to take on such an important role. I think your ego might be getting in the way. This should work out wonderfully. Quote, all the rules are out the window. And the ratings and a third to half of the fan base along with it. That's what makes this so fun. Yes, stabbing a 55-year-old franchise to death on an ideological slab sure is fun. Whittaker doesn't waste time telling us that, quote, a woman in the lead was the direction the show was always going to go in. Really, Jodie? Was it? So I guess you speak for all the past showrunners now as well. But then, who cares about the past? As Series 11 is, apparently, the perfect jumping-on point for newbies. Because who cares about Doctor Who's toxic masculinity-infested past? I do think you'll need new fans, though. You'll need something. And that's it for today. So as always, everyone, thank you for watching, and have a good day.